Hello, my name is Leo, and welcome to another reading of The Elder Scrolls, the final reading in The Elder Scrolls Daggerfall. We have read all of the books in The Elder Scrolls Daggerfall to date. This will also be the final episode of The Elder Scrolls Daggerfall playthrough, because I finished the game how many days ago? Like sometime last week? But we still have the books to read, so we're just reading the books. Right. This is the final one. Now, I do believe we actually already read this book in the playthrough, but I want to make a special video for just the book reading to put in my little book reading playlist that nobody will watch. But whatever. You're going to such amazing lengths to do this, and no one cares. Yeah, well, you know. Hey man, that's just the kind of person I am. But next week, starting from Monday, we're going to be playing the Elder Scrolls spin-off game, Battlespire. Which apparently is hard as shit if you make the wrong character. So I'm gonna make sure I make a good character that isn't like, gonna die. Hmm. Apparently conversation plays heavily in that game. So I was gonna just make a character with no personality, but then I thought maybe I should make personality because apparently you can like talk your way out of a lot of fights. Go like SMT and the Persona 1 and 2 where you can like talk to demons. Whatever, anyway. Here is a scholar's guide to nymphs by Valdham Barries. I grew up a scholar, an ascetic devoted to knowledge, with eyes that saw beauty in a fascinating passage in a dusty tome, love in the candle that allowed me to study on starless nights, passion in a well-reasoned argument of a long-dead issue. I was a student who never graduated and was never expelled. Though I am not defending myself, I should further define myself. I am not what you would call a prude. In fact, I can speak of subjects in a detached way that would make the most debauched strumpet in Skyhawk blush with discovered modesty. I wrote an essay on the House of the Bella, maybe, as a scholar should, analyzing the cult of beauty in physical relations, as one might study crop rotation or the digestive system of an orc. The acquaintances of mine who were inclined to wink and giggle I tolerated, but barely. With all that said, the reader will understand that when I decided to study the language of the nymphs in order to study their character and culture, it was not a decision I made on account of... I'll look that word up. Okay, well I don't know how to say it. I think it's prurience? But it's when someone pays too much attention to sex. Yeah. Right. But anyway, basically I'm just saying, I'm just trying to tell you that I didn't study nymphs because I'm all about sexy lust and sex stuff. Alright? I'm a scholar. I'm an academic. Scholars have historically neglected the nymph as a subject worthy of research, and this neglect I attribute to prejudice. The sages with whom I have spoken on the subject have eloquently and intelligently formed sentences which boiled down can be translated as nymphs look like beautiful naked women who skip along, tra la 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 la, and like to have indiscriminate sex. What could they have to say that would be of any interest? So here I was faced with the most daunting of projects, to study and research a species unstudied as a potentially rewarding challenge. If the subject was unstudied because the scientific community had deemed it beneath interest, a potentially rewarding but decidedly frustrating challenge. If I spent months in serious study of their language and culture, and additional time in their company, and discovered nothing more then that the common prejudice is correct. The term laughingstock would not do me justice. So excited and nervous for reasons unrelated to the notoriously promiscuous behavior of my subjects, I began my studies. I mastered the language, a melodious tongue that sounds like wild elf and fairy, but shares no vocabulary with them. I studied the law and found it to be, on the whole, little more than pornography and crude conjecture. Next, I had to find a nymph. From my centralized location in the Imperial City, I found it easy to send word around to several well-known temples and guilds devoted to study in all the provinces. Not all replies back were serious in nature, but one, from the school of Julianus in Sentinel, helped me considerably. The Magister Oitus, sounds like coitus, and his disciples. I here offer my sincere gratitude. Nymphs are extremely shy creatures, no matter what the more obscene stories will tell you. No one who I have spoken with has had one seek him or her out. Thus, to speak with a nymph requires energy and patience. Out of courtesy for her privacy, I will not here give the location of the little grotto off the coast of Hammerfell, where I found the nymph. I took 3 months of patient waiting, leaving presents where I knew the nymph would be, before the nymph stood still at my approach. I remember I was carrying a bouquet of purple and white titties, like tatas, and she looked at them and then at me and smiled. The effect of her smile was truly magical. I'm convinced her body was, of course, perfect. Her face lovely and serene, her hair like silk flame, but until she smiled, she was beautiful in the abstract, a perfect statue by a master. The smile made her approachable, and thus terrifying. For you, I said, attempting my first utterance of nymph to a real nymph. Her smile grew into a grin, which began a giggle, and then a laugh. The reader has doubtless heard of the silver laughter of the elves. The nymph's laugh is earthly and spontaneous and very suggestive. "And what do you want from me in return, mortal?" she asked. I am... There is no, I should say, known word to the imps language for scholar. I am a man who likes to learn things, and I want to learn things about you. And I did. Nymphs are the wisest, most wonderful creatures in Tamriel. Really? My nymph, her name is Ayalea, a phonetic transcription of a word that sounds more like a light wind blowing through a small crack in a hollow chamber. And she knows more about the behavior of and varieties of the deep woodland creatures than the greatest wood elf scholar I ever met. She taught me the flowers and ghosts and creatures too fast and timid to have ever been seen by man. Ayalea taught me how to learn for the very first time, but to open my mind to all of the possibilities of life and how to use that knowledge, not just to hold in my cramped brain like a dragon's hoard. If you ever meet a nymph, speak to her. Well, I fucking try. And every single time I tried talking to a nymph, they just kept attacking me, and I had to kill them. So, whatever. Even though I started the game with, like, nymph knowledge or whatever. Anyway. Editor's note, the writer Vondam Barriers is no longer a scholar at the Imperial University. He deposited this manuscript and disappeared from the civilized world His current whereabouts are unknown, but he's probably having sex with nymphs. That's what I'd do. Alright, and that is the blank page, which is the end of the readings of the Elder Scrolls. So I hope you've enjoyed my playthrough of Daggerfall as much as I've enjoyed playing it. Except for those times when it was really hard to put out a video. But I did it! Yay me! Man, this game is a lot shorter than Arena. I mean, it makes sense. Because Arena's like, you know, the entire time here. Which makes me wonder how Morrowind and Skyrim and Oblivion are gonna go. Because you don't really, like, A, you don't need to fast travel, but you don't even really need to, like, travel like I did in Daggerfall. Like, you don't need to, like, travel across. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to play Skyrim to see, like, how long does it take to, let's say you're walking. Let's say you're on a horse. Or walking, either way. How long does it take to get from one end of Skyrim to the other? In game time, I mean. A day? Probably a day at most. So, I don't know how I'm going to do book readings in Morrowind. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Maybe I'll just do it at the end. Yeah, like I did with this. Yeah. And I'm only going to read the books that we haven't read in Daggerfall, of course. Yes, of course. Alright, so, for now, my name is Leo, but I'll see you guys on Monday for Battlespire. Hope you enjoy that new playthrough. Since that's not going to be day by day, I'll just tell you now, in case you didn't already know, that we're going to be playing a little Japanese game, PS1 game, called LSD, which is not what it sounds like. It's kind of trippy, but it's a dream simulator. We're going to be doing that as a day-by-day playthrough, starting from the 1st of January. Well, I'm not entirely sure I'm going to record that, because I'm going to be in Australia at the time. And I won't have my PS3, but I assume that PlayStation 4 can play PS3 games, or PS1 games. I assume so. I'll have to look that up. Yeah, so we'll be doing that. So until then, there won't really be any but day-by-days, but of course, you know, we'll be doing Battlespire, and if we somehow finish Battlespire before the end of the year, we might do the Red Guard adventures or whatever as well. And of course, YOLO, sorry, One Life Only challenges on Sundays, and the first 15 series on Saturdays, sorry. So one video a day, basically, from now on. But hopefully I'll be able to stream some more. That'd be nice. But for now, my name is Leo, and I will see you